In daylight, surrounded by the beauty of the Pacific Northwest landscape, it was hard not to let doubt creep in one last time. I could still chalk everything up to a dream, a delusion. I had enough imagination to make up something like this, having been in the cabin all this time, trapped in a story inside my head, gone mad from grief over Alice's death like Hartman had claimed. There would be no way of knowing. I told myself it didn't really matter. My course was set.
Well, here we are. We're finally very close to the end of the game. With clicker in hand, all we have left to do is take the long road back to Cauldron Lake. We're going to be doing a lot of driving this time. Something we're not too used to. But it'll give us a lot of time to reflect on, how we've gotten here. And also, who has been sponsoring this game, so thanks Verizon. Being really subtle. And this is the last major part of the game. It's not technically the last part of the game, but in terms of story, this is it. We're here. This is all we have left. I'd say that's a pretty good motel. Usually, you don't get full kitchenettes in every room. At least not around here. So, I say we pay it a visit, see what we can find. But first, a detour. And I've left most of this in just to kind of accentuate the music in the background, the mood of the finality of everything. The fact that we're finally getting to the end of this long story. It's not to say that this is an appropriate walking length to just get a collectible. You could have made this a lot shorter. But it is a chest, and for what's coming, we're gonna need the supplies. So, let's try to get back to that car as quickly as possible. So, as you might have noticed from the cutscene that played before this whole part started, we're on our own again, which I understand for thematic reasons, but for gameplay it kind of sours a bit. That, we get our two buddies that can really help out, and Alan chooses to leave them behind. I think that's a good way to stop the car. I don't know what happened in here, but things are about to take a pretty dark turn.
I will kill your wife.
And just like that, I don't know if several hours have passed, or if the darkness has magically turned everything to night, but the safety of the daylight sun is now gone. And we'll be fighting through, well, really every enemy that we've faced so far. At least someone was nice enough to leave us cars along the way. And what's nice about these parts is that you could sort of technically drive almost all the way there. The pit stops I'll be taking are kind of optional. They're just for collectibles and a little bit of story. But it's nice that they include really what is a good sense of the ending of this game. But we've made it to the Majestic. And I'm still a terrible shot with that. So let's have a look around, see what we can find. Wow, that is quite the deposit for a motel room. More like something you'd put down on a really shitty apartment.
Based on the signature in the motel register, Agent Nightingale had stayed here, in room number 2.
Well, good news is it's the first room on the right, so let's check that out. And the place looks like shit. Kind of unsurprising, especially with all the alcohol bottles around.
This had obviously been the room where Agent Nightingale had stayed when he hadn't been busy harassing me.
Looks like he left a lot of good shit behind. Something we ought to take.
Look after yourself and your co-workers.
Well, so much for that ambush. There is another car you can take here, and I thought about switching it up each and every time, but then I wouldn't be able to take that sick jump in this mid-sized sedan? Can't really tell. But of course, now we start to get attacked by, well, everything. And if you ever find yourself playing this part, especially on Nightmare, it can be a real nightmare. No pun intended there. The poltergeist objects can launch you off the bridge when parts start to fall.
What the hell?
It is truly a crapshoot, and if you try to rush through it, chances are you're going to die, even on the easier difficulty. As you can see, I'm being very, very careful here, because if any of the things were to hit me, I could fall to either side, and, well, that'd be it. And I don't want to come all this way just to fall off a bridge to some tires. That'd be pretty anticlimactic. But I've loaded up on a bunch of special ammo, weapons, everything. And I won't be using them all here, but this is one of the first places that you'll use everything. especially for what's coming right here. So this guy, he has a pretty good reach, and his attacks really, really hurt.
Nice to see you, too.
So it's a good idea to always visit Nightingale's motel room so you can get the flashbangs, because without them, it might be a little difficult to take care of that guy without taking some heavy hits. But, again, we've got a new ride, and we're gonna use it. And by use it, I mean get into sort of a demolition derby with, well, a ghost car. Now you can only damage it when your headlights are full on, so it can kind of be a pain when he gets around behind you and your battery's dead. But if you take your time, it's really not that bad. But he does kind of hit your car a little hard, so it's a good idea to switch to the pickup truck that's waiting for you up here, just so you don't kind of stall it out later. The music can be a little misleading in this part when I just kind of stop every 5 seconds to get a new collectible. I mean, we are technically in a battle right now, so you just gotta get away. And if you can block your truck in like that, you can prevent any sort of poltergeist items that maybe got a little close from really attacking you once you get out of the car. It's not something that you really ever need to worry about, but it's a good precaution to take. This next area, however, can be a little rough. So the best strategy here is to make sure that you have flares and use them a lot. Don't even take the time to shoot anybody, just run. Anybody gets too close, use a flare. Once you make it to the light, you can go back, get the manuscript page you probably missed, and then continue on. Yeah, thank you, Verizon. Glad you're being subtle again with your advertisements. Now, at the end of this road is obviously another collectible, otherwise I would not be coming down here. Seems a little bit quiet this time. So this part of the game has probably some of the most missable signs in the entire game. They're usually small, out of the way, and look like they fit in with the background scenery. so it's kind of hard to tell that you should be looking at them unless you get, well, up close. Like all of the signs on that gate, they weren't really signs to read. So, driving up here, we saw a couple of arrows. We can head around back, and there will be a chest waiting for us, but that's not the only thing waiting. The real problem here is that your attackers will come from complete opposite sides, so an ambush is really, really likely. It is totally worth it for the stuff you get, though. But the reason we stopped here is because that gate is closed, so we'll have to come in here to open it. And if you were looking closely during that fight, you could see the thermos that was sitting right on the shelf. Still not the last collectible in this small area. But it looks like we found the switch for the gate. All we have to do is get back out. Okay, time to redeem myself. Good. Turns out I have perfect aim from 2 feet away. Great. But with the gate open, we can now leave. So as you've seen, some collectibles in this game are pretty tricky, and I think this is one of the trickiest to get. Well, at least the trickiest to see, because you just kind of want to go over that ramp as soon as possible and not think that there's a thermos all the way out here. Because it's sort of, once you pass this point, you can't really get back. You might be able to jump your way over, but certainly not with the car. And it is a good idea to park your truck here as close to these blue containers and that red switch as possible. It's going to become pretty abundantly clear as soon as I get over here. So, if you're not prepared, this fight will destroy you, because he moves quickly, he moves erratically, and he's not alone. It is entirely possible to skip that fight by running as quickly as you can to the switch by the car, because that's your only way out. But I have had that tractor, bulldozer, whatever that was, I've had it run into the car and then subsequently run me over. And this is a pretty good idea of why you kind of want to take care of everybody first, because you will be waiting. But pass through that light and you're clear. I still cannot get a handle for these dirt roads.
When I told Barry my plan back in the well-lit room, I'd acted as if I knew what I was doing. I didn't. I was operating on the shifting logic of a dream. I had to fight my way to the lake through the horrors of the night. I had to flick an old battered light switch imbued with childhood magic. I had to write a happy ending to a horror story. I had to save my wife from the dark prison she was being held in.
Oh, wait. So the reason we left Sarah and Barry back at the well-lit room is because you didn't know what you were doing? Well, that's fucking great. It's really starting to make me wonder how many abandoned towns are around Bright Falls, because it's been quite a few now.
I will never give her to you.
So you don't want to just run forward here. If you do, the cyclone, tornado, darkness, crazy shitstorm will suck you up and instantly kill you. So you want to wait for at least a little bit, and then when things sort of die down, then you can advance toward this light. But you want to be as prepared as possible because there are some really heavy hitters here. And that is not the only chainsaw guy either. There should be one or two more coming up. So just like at the dam, we have this light that we can use to get rid of a lot of the darkness, or the Taken. But doesn't really work out all the time, because there are people that will come up behind you and kill you. So you want to just aim it down the center of town so you can get everybody coming from that side, and then kind of stand in the light and take care of them. And that's why you want to be away from the light, is these guys will come out right behind you. So it got a little scary there, but thanks to all of our extra special ammo, we can get out of there. And you can't really just run through because you have this QTE that kind of takes up a lot of time. It's completely possible to just lay a couple flares every couple of seconds and then push your way out. It's certainly a more viable option on the Nightmare difficulty when you have a lot of people that almost one-shot you. And that's really what Nightmare mode is. It's a lot of stacking your flares and flashbangs and just running through the game as quickly as possible, because combat can be, well, a nightmare.
I could see Mirror Peak in the distance. That's where Cauldron Lake was.
And no, I didn't actually edit the music out there. It just kind of stopped. Well, we're taking a really rickety old minecart down some scary-looking scaffolding. This can totally not go wrong. But we are stuck in place for a while, so it's not really that surprising that we're being attacked by birds. So if we head down here past the checkpoint, there's actually a chest, another one, with a lot of good ammo, so it's not a good idea to pass this one up. So now that we are sufficiently well armed, we can go ahead. And I do like this part of the game because it just sort of, it makes you start to feel more powerful against the darkness. Like, not only do you have a plan to finally get Alice back and finally just destroy the darkness, but you get loaded up with so much good stuff. You get so many flares, so many flashbangs, a shitload of shotgun ammo. It's really hard to lose at this point. Which is why the game pretty much throws everything it's got at you. And when I say it throws things at you, it's going to become quite literal. We are, however, starting to run out of collectibles to get. There's only a few more after this point. We've still got more than one thermos to go, though, but in terms of signs, manuscript pages, we're pretty much done. Feels good to finally be getting all of that stuff out of the way. These birds, however, are unending. Thankfully, they aren't literally unending. That was the last group, but seems like the darkness is really starting to get desperate. And we've got 18 flares, so I think we can afford to use one to speed this up a bit. And is this all the same abandoned town? Because it's large, but it's really disjointed. I guess the people of Bright Falls just kind of let the whole mining community rot up in the mountains. Can't say I blame them with all the crazy shit that's been going on. So here things get a little hairy because there are rocks and trees everywhere, it's really dark, and some of the most powerful enemies are right on your tail, so it's kinda tense. See, I didn't even notice him and he was right next to me. Had I not set that flare off, he would have gotten me as soon as I went for this generator. It's not to say he's gone. He's got plenty of friends. There we go. Now we can finally move forward without worrying about... Exactly. So I'm trying to not waste my flare gun ammo too much, but kind of not getting a whole lot of choices here. We're also sort of low on flashbangs. Make up for that with all the flares I have, though. So I can afford to be a little liberal with that use. Okay, so that's a truck, a house, and a boat. Is there much left in the bottom of that lake? And it's sort of a good idea to wait here and hope that the enemies will funnel themselves in, because then they can't really escape. They can certainly try, but you want to trick them to getting as close to you as possible. But I know that can't be the last of them, and there he is. At this point, I'm starting to get a little tired with the amount of enemies, but I haven't died yet, so it's not a total loss. Now, I don't know where those explosive barrels came from, but there are a lot, and they kind of set each other off. The weird thing about that is I've had crazy frame rate drops and physics glitching the hell out when they knock into one another, because I don't think the game is necessarily meant to handle that. It's certainly amusing to see, but not if it ends up getting you killed. And yes, it is entirely possible to get hit by that falling train car. And it will kill you, instantly. So rather than take your chances with getting underneath it, it's just a better idea to head to the right. We are very, very close to the end now. Few more big obstacles to kind of get past, but we are so close to the end. And that makes the last chest of the game. So found all 30, and they have really helped out, especially in the worst spots in this game. And especially for this part coming up. If you know how to plan it properly, this part is so trivial it's not even funny, but your first time through, it can be a little scary. So, we basically need to use this lift, and, well, the switch isn't being powered.
I needed to get the generator running.
So, like usual, we just follow the power lines, and over here, there's a generator. Along with some really, really good ammo. So I think we'll just switch out to our best stuff, because at this point there's no reason to hold back. Unfortunately though, it kind of brings out all of the worst enemies in the game. The good news is, they still react to flares just like any others, and keeping them back is really your best strategy. All we have to do now is wait for the lift to come back down. And it really doesn't take that long. As you can see, it's already down here. And there you have it. Easy as that. Sure beats fighting all those guys. But right there on the floor in front of us is the last manuscript page of the game. So we finally have a complete manuscript. Although we're kind of at a point where it doesn't really help us.
Now.
Here's my favorite part of the game, where we just sort of destroy everything in front of us. And I keep checking behind me because there's supposed to be a guy behind me, but maybe he just got killed in the crossfire.
Do as you're told. Alice never loved you.
So we've finally made it to the lake, and the darkness is going to do everything in its power to stop us. The only thing we can really do is avoid all of the debris and make it to that tornado so we can finally put an end to this.
You can't win.
So there is a bit of strategy here, and it's sort of luck-based, because as you can see, the debris from the tornado is kind of colliding with itself. But you get a flare gun here with infinite ammo in this box, and you use it to destroy the tornado by firing flares right into the heart of it.
You will fail. It's all in your head.
If you can make it to here, you've beaten the game at this point.
You're making this up.
All that's left is to finally end it.